going to try to stay on topic, not get sidetracked, and I just want to go through each of the Y chromosome haplogroups and then possibly about the mitochondrial haplogroups as well. So just keep everybody up to speed. Let's go. Let's go. Where are we going? Oh, we got to add this to the stage. There we go. And we'll go to here. Okay. So these are the sons of Noah. In the correct order, it's supposed to be Japheth, Shem, and then Ham. So we're going to go through the one sons of Japheth first, according to their DNA haplogroup designations, which will be in the order of birth, pretty much. So we started with Japheth. He's the oldest son of Noah. Now the age, the order of the sons is very important when you consider the DNA, because they have to be in the order that the DNA designates. And the curious thing is that if one thing was off, it would throw out the whole thing. So either you're wrong about the designation, or you're wrong about the designation because the DNA isn't wrong. The DNA is correct in every case. So we're going to go through each of these 16 grandsons of Noah, and you'll see that they're all in the order that they're supposed to be. Starting with Japheth, who is the oldest son of Noah. His oldest son will be Tubal. So Tubal is designated as K. Then they have a separation, which is really kind of strange. They have a KT. They call it KT. So then somehow Javan is not too dissimilar from Tubal. So we'll just go to Javan next, who is T. And his descendants are basically the Greek sea people, or the Greek island sea people, or the Mediterranean sea people. His descendants are Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. These are all places in the area of the Mediterranean and Anatolia. So we got the K and the T, but the order of the alphabet goes KL. So the L would be Tiraz of the Thracians. The Thracians are Greek people too. They're more of the Greek mainland people. They're a separate, originally, of course, they were a separate group called the Thracians, and they have the L designation. And they are found in India, probably because of Alexander the Great when he went to India. So there's an L is designated as the Thracians. Then there's M and S. Now, if we look at the connections, the M and the S are closely associated with the K. So I believe both the M and the S, considering that they're both on the same island of Papua New Guinea, I'm considering both of them as coming from K, even though their lineages are separate way far back. So the M and the S would be connected to K. So it's, and then there's the N. The N in between is Meshech. That'd be the Siberian people up north. All the N people are all the way up north. And in Siberia, basically. All, from Europe to the Far East is N, the descendants of Bishek. Okay, then we have O, which would be Magog. So the descendants of Magog are mostly in the Far East. They're designated as O. So in between the N up north and some of the K down south, it's in the South Pacific, in between is the O of Magog. So then we have P and Q. I'm putting P and Q together because they're basically probably the same lineage, and that would be the Medes of Madai. So the Q is Madai. And then the only one left is Gomer of the R, which is known there. They're known people: Ashkenaz, Rippath, and Togarma. Ashkenaz is R1A, Rippath is R1B, Togarma is R2. So that's the 7 sons of Japheth. It's Tubal K, Javan T, Tiraz L, Meshech N, Magog O, then Madai Q, and Gomer is R. R1A in Northern Europe, R1B in Southern Europe, Togarma in more the direction of India. Because, of course, they all started out from the Middle East, of course. So that's the sons of Japheth. Now the next ones would be the sons of Shem. So we have the IJ would be the descendants of Arpachshad. And then now we're going backwards through the alphabet because the out of Africa is backwards, completely backwards. Because all these sons here of Japheth are under the designation of K. K includes all of these people, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T. That's the designation of K. Now, this designation here would be F, except that it's backwards because they're assuming an out of Africa thing starting with F, F, G, H, I, J. But in fact, it's going I, J, H, G, F, I think it's F2 and then F1 or something like that. So we're starting out with Arpachshad is the oldest son because he has an I, J, K, S, and P marker, which means he has a marker that he shares with all of the I's and J's, the descendants of Abraham, and any Hebrews there are. So in any J, which would be Judah, J2's Judah, any tribes of Israel, they all have this IJK marker that they share with all the Eurasians. The reason being is because Arpachshad is the oldest son of Shem, so he can share a marker with his uncle Japheth because he's the oldest son. While all of his younger sons do not have the IJK marker. So it's not that this IJ lineage produced K. No, it didn't produce K. K is the root of the tree. You have to root the tree with the oldest son of Noah in order to get it right. And if you don't get it right, it's not going to make any sense at all. It's going to be all, that's why it's so confusing, because they have it exactly backwards. So the IJK marker is shared by the oldest son of Shem. Then it's lost to the Elam and the Elamites. They don't have it because they're the younger son. Makes sense, right? G of the Assyrians doesn't have it. F of the Arameans doesn't have it. Lud of the Lydians, they don't have it because they're younger sons of Shem. But the oldest son of Shem can share a haplogroup S&P marker with his uncle Japheth over here. Because, of course, Japheth and Shem are brothers. Japheth is the older brother. Shem is the younger brother. Shem had Arpachshad, and they all had the same marker. It's not an indication of descendancy. It's an indication of a common ancestor, Noah. If you don't understand this, you're not going to understand the S&P markers or the charts. So the oldest son, again, repeating, can share a marker with his uncle Japheth because Shem, the father of Arpachshad, is the brother of Japheth, both of whom descended from Noah. So Arpachshad has the marker. Nobody else has the marker besides Arpachshad and this K group here, which is the Eurasians. So this Semitic group, this oldest Semitic son, has a marker of the Eurasian, which is the older lineage, because Arpachshad is the oldest son. After that, they no longer inherit that marker because they're all younger sons. So we have the oldest is the IJ lineage. The next in line is H of the Elamites. Next in line is the G of the Assyrians. The next in line is the F of the Arameans, which I believe is F2. And then Lud of the Lydians has F1 because they're two separate lineages, totally separate, so much separated that they're not even together on some of the charts. Okay, so that's the 5 sons of Shem. And the only ones left are the 4 sons of Ham. So the oldest one is Cush. And I think you might know where we're going with this. The oldest son of Ham, who is Cush, can share a marker with the F, Arameans, which of course includes Aram and everybody else, all the way even to K. So this oldest son of Cush, Nimrod, has what they call a CF marker, which is actually a CT marker, which includes everything C through T, with the exception of D and E, which is even more confusing because D and E do not have the marker. They do not share the marker because Canaan the descendants of Canaan don't have it because they're a younger lineage. The descendants of Mitzrayim don't have it because they're a younger lineage. So the oldest son of Ham, which is Cush, and his oldest son, Nimrod, has a CF marker, which is only the lineage of C has it. Nobody else has it. Just Nimrod's lineage, because, of course, he's in a different environment. He never went to Africa. He's in Asia. and he's in the same environment as everybody else, as the Eurasians and the Semitic population. Because, of course, we know from the Bible that descendants of Nimrod are associated with the Assyrians. Because there's a promise in the Bible that says that Israel will no longer be afflicted by Nimrod and the Assyrians. So apparently, from what it seems to me so far, is that the descendants of Nimrod were the ruling class of the Assyrians, otherwise known as Sumerians, which are descended from Asher. And of course, they had a god of Asher. But anyways, don't want to get lost here. He's the oldest son. He's the only one that has the CF marker, which is a marker that is everybody else in the world has, with the exception of A and B and D and E. So let's go there. Cush is A and B and C. C is Nimrod, who has the designation, but the younger sons, which are A and B, all these younger sons, I don't know who it is, but it's a lineage designated as A and B. These are all descendants of Cush. Nimrod is C, he's a descendant of Cush. D is the Sinite tribe of Canaan, which is genetically compatible to be a descendant of Canaan. So the D is actually the Sinite tribe, which branches off from E2. E1 is Put, E2 is Canaan, E3 is Mitzrayim. Now this E3 lineage is the biggest African lineage. E3, well, it seems, pretty much. The only other one comparable would be the Cushite lineage. Well, if you include, without including Nimrod, if you include Nimrod, then that's the descendants of Cush is the largest lineage. But in Africa, without Nimrod, Cush could be comparable to the descendants of Mitzrayim, which you can see Mitzrayim had a lot of descendants. Put not so much, but he still has, his descendants were in North Africa, and they migrated basically to East Africa. So the E1 is basically in East Africa. E2 in Africa is more towards West Africa and Southern Africa. And E2 is basically not found in Canaan anymore. For all intents and purposes, all these tribes are non-existent with the exception of the Sinite tribe and whatever tribe made it into Africa or went into Africa and survived. But most of these descendants no longer exist of Canaan, because they were like in the middle of all the wars and fighting and everything. The Syrians would come, and the Arameans, and the Israelites, and everybody's fighting for basically survival. So the descendants of Canaan suffered, with the exception of the Sinite tribe that went down to Sinai, went through the Andaman Islands, up into Tibet, through Mongolia, all the way to Japan, where they are today, all these places. The D Hamitic haplogroup in Asia. So Canaan is survived by the D Hamitic haplogroup in Asia. Believe it or not, truth is stranger and more interesting than fiction. So that's D. Canaan is E2. So this S&P marker that Nimrod has is C, F, and then they have XDE, which means X, the D, of the Sinite tribe, and X, the E, of Mitzrayim, Canaan, and Put. They don't have it. Not even D. D doesn't have it. The C has it in Asia, but D in Asia doesn't have it. It's XDE. It's CFXDE. So those are the four sons of Ham. Now, let me just go back here a little bit, see if everything's okay. We have some people here. Shalom, rebuke and reprove saints. And we have David USA. Good morning. I too am 223. There you go. Descendant. The new finding is that I too is the descendants of the tribe of Asher. And we got Thad Nguyen. Sorry about the pronunciation. Dana says greetings. And David USA. Please explain the T1A, Y-DNA, and the J2. They claim either one of them are the true Israel and descendants of Abraham. Okay, so we know the J haplogroup is the Abrahamic lineage because we have what's called the Cohen-Modal haplotype, which we could get into. And the Cohen-Modal haplotype is J1P58. So that identifies the lineage from Aaron, Moses' brother, from the tribe of Levi, who is, of course, the son of Jacob, Israel. So that identifies J, the lineage IJ, as the Abrahamic lineage. So, and the reason why the I1 and I2 survived or thrived is because they were known to be seafarers and traders, that would trade goods. And I1 went up into Northern Europe. I2 resembles more of the movements of the tribe of Asher, which went all the way even to the northern tip of Africa, the city of Carthage, where it's still there today. But the T1 is not a Semitic haplogroup. So the T1 can't be Abrahamic or Semitic. T1 is in the K haplogroup designation. They call it KT. So that would count them out, but it fits with the Java and Mediterranean Sea people. The descendants are Elisha, Dodanim, Kittim, and Tarshish in the Mediterranean Sea. And this T haplogroup is very significant too because it is in the Jewish population, mostly the Portuguese Jewish population, because of the descendants of Tarshish in Iberian Peninsula, because they had a close association with Tarshish. And that's where they got the T haplogroup in the Jewish population. So that would explain the T, but the vast majority of the Judaic population is J2. If you any pie chart you look at is J2 and J1. The vast majority of the Jewish people. And it's surprising that they still have that much of the original haplogroup in their population. Okay, DE Yap, please explain. Yeah, the XDE, well, means that they don't have the CF marker, if that's what you mean. I forget that D Yap. I remember people talking about that, but I'm not too sure exactly what that's supposed to mean, or I don't remember. Anyways, let me just continue a little bit. Maybe, if I may. I might not be able to continue a whole lot, but we'll see how it goes. So let's which direction we go. This way? Okay. It's the same thing. You got Shem, or actually got Japheth is the oldest. Then you have Shem, and then you have Ham is the youngest. The Bible specifically says Ham is the youngest lineage, so you cannot root the human family tree with A. A is not the root of the tree because genetic distance doesn't equate to age. Of course, they're all the same age, is what the point is, because in the out of Africa scenario, they have A, B, C, D, and E first, and then they connect that lineage to this lineage by way of the C haplogroup, the CF haplogroup, which is actually Nimrod in the land of Sumer. But they try to connect them that way, but it's not that C produced F, G, H, I, and J, and K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T. It's that they both share a common ancestor. Nimrod, the son of Cush, shares a haplogroup with the rest of the world because they have a common ancestor who is Noah, because Cush is the oldest son of Ham, who has, and his oldest son is Nimrod, who can have, his descendants can have the CF marker in common with the rest of the world, while the rest of his younger brothers and sisters and cousins or whatever, or not sisters, but cousins, they don't have it. So in the out of Africa scenario, they have first the Hamites, then the Semites, then the Eurasians. But in the mitochondrial DNA, if you're going to have an out of Africa causal descendancy, then it should be the same, right? It should be, you have the L1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then what comes after L is M. But wait a minute, M is the Eurasian daughters. So M is all the daughters of Japheth. N is the daughters of Shem. So you can't have an out of Africa scenario with a Y chromosome descendancy being from Africans to the Semitics to the Eurasians, when the mitochondrial goes from the Africans to the Eurasians, which supposedly produced the Semitic N, because it goes L, M, and N. So that right there totally debunks the out of Africa just by that alone. So let's continue, if we may. This showed the same thing. Up here is Japheth somewhere. There's Japheth. Japheth, Shem, and Ham. That's the order of descendancy. And you have all the same names of the table of nations, as we already went through. Okay, this is the W lineage, which is the same lineage as the X and the I and the Y and the A. It's a Semitic lineage, but it's from one of the daughters of Shem that married Madai, who's the ancestor of the Medes. So wherever the Medes went, that lineage of W, X, I, Y, and A followed wherever the Medes went. And the Medes went up into Europe in this area right here. And that's where the W is. And then there's also the X is in the same general area. That's M81, the Berbers. This is the mtDNA and the Y chromosome of the population of Italy, which we could spend a lot of time studying, but the thing to note here, which I like to point out, is that in central Italy today, there's still the original population of Tubal that settled in Italy. That's still 8%, which is a huge percentage considering everybody else is from everywhere else. This J2. J2 is, of course, basically Judaic. And then there's J1, which is either Abrahamic or Israelite. I is the tribe of Dan. Wow, that's huge, isn't it? 13%. I. And then there's G, is Assyrian. E is Mitzrayim, probably. Yeah, E3. R1B is Riphath from Gomer. R1B. So the only one left is the K of Tubal, who were the original inhabitants of Italy, which is still there in, large percentage today. Okay. This is showing the out of Africa belief, which they have the tree rooted with A, which is what I'm trying to explain, is that it's not rooted with A, it's rooted with K. Because K is the oldest lineage, and here we have the IJK marker, M523. This IJK marker is shared by IJ and K, which is everybody else underneath K. And the reason this is possible is because they have a common ancestor through Noah, or from Noah through Shem and Japheth. So the Arpachshad, being the oldest brother, can have this IJK marker up here. And of course, these markers are of the IJ lineage. There's the IM170, and then there's the other J lineage, which is J1, J2. So then we have the HIJK marker, which the H has and all the people to the right have. Then you have a GHIJK marker, which the Assyrians have, the G has, and everybody else to the right. All the older lineages to the right, they have it. And then, of course, there's an FGHIJK marker too. But according to this one, it's not being shown or there, but it is F because it's a CF marker. So this F, it includes F. Now this is the CF marker that only C has, and all the older lineages to the right have it. So it's X, the DE. So this CF marker here is X, the DEs. XD and XE. So D is down here. This is D going down here. This is E over here. It's E1, E2, and E3, which I don't know if they have it designated. I got E2 here, and I got E1 here, and here's the D, and here's the A and the B. So this D doesn't have the CF marker, as you can see here. Only the CF has it. So they believe that Semitic populations and Eurasian population descended from this C paternal ancestor. But the C marker is none other than Nimrod, who is the oldest son who can share the same marker with these older lineages, while these younger lineages no longer have that marker. This has to be understood. You have to understand this. Otherwise, nothing is going to ever make any sense. And here's the first map that I started studying the haplogroups and the movements, and it's very interesting as well. Notice down here the K of tubal, and the proximity. There's K in this area. All this area is K as well, but the proximity to the M and the S, both of which are closely associated with K. And the only other haplogroup in the area here is this C, which is Hamitic, of course, of Nimrod. The C2, C4 in Australia, C3 in the New World. So we know from this that the any C2 Polynesians over here that arrived over here did not survive, because there's only a C3 lineage, which is another C lineage. It's not the same lineage. But there is a curious thing with the Olmec population, the Olmec statues. If you look at them, they don't look exactly African, but they do look Polynesian, which is interesting because they have the same common ancestor, Nimrod. That's why the Olmec statues look Polynesian, because the C3 is the same lineage, comes from the same ancestor as the C2, even though it's a different lineage. They still have the same appearance. So, generally speaking. So there's the O. The O, of course, being Magog. And here you have the T all the way over here in India, probably because of Alexander the Great, when he came to ride elephants. And the L is over here too. This is the L of the... No, this is the... I just mixed it up. This is the L of the Thracians, and this is the T of the Javan, descendants of Java. But they were sea people too, so the Javan were sea people. They also show up here in the Horn of Africa because of the trade with the Greek sea people. So the Greeks have a known history of having trade with the Horn of Africa. That's why the T haplogroup is here. And it could be why the T haplogroup is here, because of the trade, because there were seafaring people that traded. And that's where they ended up. But this L over here of the Thracians is probably from Alexander the Great, which makes more sense because it's not that far away. I mean, Alexander the Great did come to India to ride elephants, and probably brought this L haplogroup. Now, the other interesting thing here is the Elamodravidians. They have them as being associated with the L of the Thracians, but Thracians are Japhethite, not Semitic. Elamites are Semitic. So you look down here and you got Dravidian with the H haplogroup. Those are the Elamites. H is the descendants of Elam. Elamo-Dravidian Elamites. It's where the Elamites. So that's the haplogroup of Elam. Then you look for Assyrian. Assyria is right here, but anytime there was trouble, everybody went to the mountains, and there's G2 of the Assyrians there. Of course, it's here too, but it's not as much. And then there's a F. It doesn't show it here, but there is F of the Arameans and the Lydians here as well. But like I said, the F in the previous video, the F were the Arameans. They had the trade routes that went all the way to India, where they had inscriptions, carved into rock of Chinese lettering on one side, and then the what do you call it? The Syriac, which is Aramean, but it's just a little different version of Aramean. It's called Syriac, alongside of the Chinese script, showing that the Arameans did reach India. And that's why, of course, there's F here in this area. Where do they have F? It's not even showing it here. It's not even showing it here, but the idea is that F spread out from Asia here somewhere. See, this is the CF. This is the CF hypothesis of Nimrod, but Nimrod's descendants never went to Africa. They went everywhere. They went to Europe. They went everywhere else in the world, but they never went to Africa. So this is the CF marker. They say is C and F. They got F here. This is the hypothetical root. That the C and the F. There's the F here, hypothetical root. And they're saying from this F haplogroup, everybody else came from, which is interestingly just the Aramean. F is the Arameans that had trade routes to India by way of by land, or maybe by sea too, but by land. They control the trade routes so much so that's why Aramaic became the spoken language of the Middle East. Yeah, so in the time of Jesus, they were speaking Aramaic because of the Arameans and their trade routes as far as India. So, some of these things, some of these movements might be correct, but then this whole idea of out of Africa is completely and totally wrong because it's not even the oldest lineage. The oldest lineage is the Eurasian lineage, which began right up in the northern parts of this area of Anatolia. And of course, then they moved north and east. Meshech is in. Meshech moved up in the north, totally separate from O, even though they seem to think O and N are closely associated. They're actually totally separate, as you can see. O is down here, which would be Magog. Meshech being N, Magog being O. And the K is Tubal. So that's about it, and then there's so much more you could talk to. Here's the movements of I2. I2, of course, more, and so even though no, I2 was up in these areas as well, but they seem to be separate movement, totally separate from I1. In other words, if you look at some of these videos, they got a few videos on YouTube where it shows the movements of I2 and I1 according to the dates that they were found. And you can see I2 moves up in here. I mean, I1 moves up in here, then I2 moves up there, and it just shows all the movements of everywhere they went. And so these I2 movements are more in line with the tribe of Asher than the tribe of Dan. So that's why I separated I1 from I2. I1 is Dan, and I2 is the tribe of Asher. Of course, I1 M253, they call it Germanic. It's actually Semitic, which is I don't know why people don't realize the significance of this, because it's not, I1 is not Germanic. I1 is Semitic. This I1 of the Vikings, M253, that's Semitic. That's what I am right there. I'm I1 M253. That's me. And again, remember the Q of the Medes? I said the Medes were here. Remember the W was here? And you'll see the X and the I is here because it's the daughter of Shem that married Madai and followed the Medes wherever they went. It's a separate Semitic lineage that follows the Medes wherever they went. So, and of course, we have the Romanis, or the Gypsies. They're Elamites. Second to this H haplogroup is none other than the J2 haplogroup, because they actually claim to be not just Gypsies, but they claim to be part Jewish or Judaic. And sure enough, if you look at the Gypsy haplogroups, H1 is the biggest haplogroup. J2 is a close second. It's a significantly close second. So yes, they are part Judaic and part Elamite. Mostly Elamite, but a good part Judaic as well. Which we can keep on talking. We can talk about the Uyghurs too, because remember these trade routes, the Silk Road, it goes all the way to China. The Uyghur population has a huge, the most significant haplogroup in the Uyghur population is J2. They're Judaic. They're Judaic. These people over here are Judaic. So all the way into China. Remember, the Bible says that he's going to bring people from as far away as the land of Sinim. That's China. Yep, it's a J2. It's Judaic. It's not J1. It's not I1. It's J2, which is Judaic. So that's and of course here they identify J1 as Middle Eastern Semitic, which is correct. They identify E3 as Egyptian, which is correct. The V12, but actually all of E3, including the Berbers, they're all descendants of Mitzrayim. And where's the E2? Here's the E2 right here. Nilotic. The Nilotic people with the E2, M75, would be the descendants of Canaan. That's about it. That's about all that's left of the descendants of Canaan. And of course, the Berbers are E3, Egyptians are E3, and that they call Cushites are E3, but that's not the original Cushites. The original Cushites are A and B, which are over here, A and B. A over here, A3. The Khoisan people, A over here, Khoisans, and whatever B there was, there's B right here. So these are descendants of Cush. And the rest, all the E3s, are direct descendants of the sons of Mitzrayim, which are many, many, many sons. But anyways, that's about it. Here R1b, of course, being Riphath. R1a is Ashkenaz, both sons of Gomer. Ashkenaz in Northern Europe, R1a, Riphath in Southern Europe and Western Europe, even as far as Ireland and England, they're descendants of Riphath. And of course, the I1 is not Germanic. The I1 is Semitic, as well as the I2 is the tribe of Asher. I1 is Dan, and that's me. I1M253. So that's me. Anyway, there we go. And there, the D. Here's a D. Remember the D? You have the Andamanese. You have the D here. And you have the D here. This is Hamitic Bible. This is Canaanite, the tribe of Sinim. When the Bible says they'll bring people from as far as the land of Sinim, this is the tribe of Sinim. And then we got Sino-Tibetan. See this Sino, this Tibetan, Burman, D1, D3, through Mongolia. They travel through Mongolia. The D is here. Well, it's all the way up here. And you know what this is? This is the Altai. That's the Altai Mountains. The D2 is way up here. And they travel through Mongolia. See the green dotted line? So this is the Altai Mountain. So not only do you have the C descendants of Nimrod in the Altai Mountain area, but you have the D2 descendants of Canaan in the Altai Mountains, which is where they found the first Denisovin, finger bone. And then they come to find out that, oh wow, these people in the Altai Mountains are somehow related to these people down here in Papua New Guinea and even the Philippines down here. Why? Is because of the, what they call it, admixture or the autosomal DNA of the descendants of Nimrod and the descendants of Sinim, Canaan, in the Altai Mountain region. Makes sense now. All of a sudden it makes sense. And of course the D2 goes all the way to the Jomons over here and all the way to the Ainu Japanese Jomons. D2. They were pushed out a little bit by the O haplogroup, came up through southern part of Japan and pushed them all the way up into the northern part of Japan where they still exist today. They're the Sinite descendants of Canaan in Asia. And of course, the C haplogroup, descendants of Nimrod, they went all the way to America. This yellow here, the Nadine tribe, and they go all the way down into Central America. It doesn't show it, but here you go. In South America, you have the Wayu, the Quechua, and the Waorani. And you know where I'm from? I'm from right here. I'm from the middle of the Amazon jungle. So when I was a kid, I was very familiar with this Waorani tribe because they killed 5 missionaries. So that's a very interesting story. There's many videos on YouTube about the Waorani. They're called Auca Indians by the Spanish-speaking people because they were regarded as savages, and they were about ready to go in and wipe them out to do petroleum mining or whatever it was. And the missionary said, give us one chance to see if we can reach them. And they went in and they killed 5 missionaries, but then the wives of the missionaries and their children went in, and they had a homicide rate of like 63% or something like that in the tribe before the missionaries went in, and it dropped to near zero after the missionaries arrived there. So even if 100% of the people are not saved, it still has a huge impact on their lives because we are the salt of the earth. And it's one thing people don't seem to understand about missionaries is that they are really, I mean, I don't want to say they're the only ones doing the effective work, but they are doing a very significant, effective work. And people don't understand it. They malign them. They're misunderstood constantly. And, but that's what the truth. And there's a whole bunch of YouTube videos. Just look up Auca Indians, Waorani Indians, and there's a whole bunch of YouTube videos about them. And there's another story of a missionary got shot down that I went to school with. He got shot down by a 3-letter agency. Not funny, but I mean, it actually happened. Yeah, I knew him and his brother. He got shot down. His son was killed, and his wife was killed. And but he survived. And I saw the pontoons of the airplane. They showed me the pontoons that were full of holes. So anyway, now I know some of the rest of the story. The true story of the Table of Nations from A to Z. Oh yeah, let me try to find, if I can, an mtDNA haplogroup pie chart, if I can find it. Okay, if I find it one way or another. Here we go. mtDNA haplogroups. Because I don't want to just talk about the Y chromosome. We have to talk about the mitochondrial DNA as well. As previously mentioned, 3, 4, 5, and 6 exclusively in Africa. They're basically nowhere else, originally. They were only found in Africa. So Nimrod, even though Nimrod doesn't pass on his mother's DNA, if his mother was African, her daughters would pass on the mitochondrial DNA, but there's no evidence of any of Nimrod's wives being African. because there's none of his daughters are found anywhere else in the world besides Africa. It's L1, 2, and 3. So this is the order that they have it, of course, is L, M, and N. So what this is you got L, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you got M, C, Z, D, G, E, and Q. This is the Asiatic or the Eurasian mitochondrial DNA, as you can see up here. All these haplogroups in East Asia are under the M designation from the daughters of Japheth. Now it seems like Japheth had 7 sons, so he must have not have had as many daughters. So it turns out that Madai asked to marry one of Shem's daughters. So what do we have here? Remember what I said about the W, X, I, and A, and there's a Y. This is all one lineage. If you follow it throughout, it's one lineage from the daughter of Shem. FH, everything throughout the Middle East and throughout Europe, as a matter of fact. As a matter of fact, 95% of European mitochondrial DNA is Semitic for whatever reason. The only place it changes is like in the middle of India, you have Semitic mitochondrial DNA on one side, and on the other side, you start to have the Asiatic or Eurasian mitochondrial DNA descendants of Japheth. That's east of India. So almost split down the middle. On this side is Semitic mitochondrial DNA. On the east side is the Asiatic or Eurasian mitochondrial DNA descendants of the daughters of Japheth. So there you have it. L1, 2, and 3, M, and N. The Asiatics is C, Z, D, G, and E, and Q. Then you have the daughters of Madai is N, I, W, A, X, Y. Then you have the rest of the daughters of Shem, which are R, B, F, H, V, H, V, P, J, T, U, and K. These are basically Middle Eastern Semitic, the rest of the Semitic mitochondrial DNA. And it is broken up that way. If you look at some of the charts, it is broken up that way. It's L, M, then N, and then R. And from R is all separate lineage from N. But anyways, that's a pretty good explanation. And if you want to know where the diversity is for the mitochondrial haplogroups as well as the Y chromosome haplogroups, look at where the diversity is. It's in the cradle of nations, Mesopotamia. Not Africa. Not out of Africa. You go up here, not diverse. You go over here, not diverse. You go over here, not diverse. Over here, not diverse. Diverse here, diverse. And of course, PE is PE. Oh, where's PE? Oh, man, where does PE go? PE. Oh, that's Persian. There you go. Persians. PE is Persian. Look at the diversity of the Persians. as far as mitochondrial DNA. That's what you call diversity, not this. This is not diversity. And the only reason why there's diversity up here, of course, is because of the influence of the rest of the world over here. But as far as the original African population, not diverse, not in the Y chromosome for sure. Okay. So I guess that's good for right now. Now this is the mitochondrial DNA. You got, remember, L1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 or whatever. This is all in Africa. This is one branch. Then you got the Eurasian daughters of Japheth over here, C, D, G, M, E, Z, G, or whatever. One single lineage. Looks like they might even had one daughter. Japheth might have had 7 sons, but he might have had one daughter. And those are the daughters. That's could be the single daughter of Japheth or whatever. You know, maybe there's 4 or whatever. Anyways, notice the Semitic mitochondrial DNA, the daughters of Shem. Remember what I said? The I, the S, the A, the O, X, and W is one lineage over here. Branches off from a single point over here, right? These are the daughters of Madai from the wife that Madai married, who was from the daughter of Shem. So that's where you have all the daughters of Madai. And over here, then you have an R. The R designation is all the rest of the daughters of Shem. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 daughters of Shem. Besides the daughter of Shem that Madai married, which would be it looks like there's another one. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 daughters of Shem, more or less, right? Looks like 1 daughter of Japheth. Looks like, I don't know, but this is genetic distance here, supposed to be. And I don't know how many daughters of Ham there are. It's hard to say. 1 or 2, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, that's from the Thousands Genomes Program, mitochondrial phylogeny. And here we have the Y chromosome. Y chromosome phylogeny. Okay, so we have the remember they try to root the tree. They try to root the tree right here with A, which is incorrect. So what they have, the sons of Cush, are A, B, and C. D is actually more compatible with E2. Okay, there's E1, there's E3, I don't know. This stuff is confusing. This E1, B1, B1, E, it's all messed up. So they recategorize that as E1, E2, and E3. This looks like E2, this looks like E1, E3, or something. E2 would be Canaan. Of course, there's 2 lineages of E2. Anyway, but the D is compatible with this E2. Remember, the D does not have the CF marker that Nimrod shares with the rest of the world. Only this lineage here has the CF marker, which is the reason why they try to say that this C ancestor produced all of these. But as you can see, that is not the case. But the C lines up with the A and the B down here. So that C is a descendant of Cush. So this is the lineage of Cush, A and B. Then put Mitzrayim and Canaan would be E1, E2, E3. Now here's what I was talking about, the F lineages. Remember, you have the Aramean lineages, and you have the Lydian lineage. Look here what they have here. Look at this. You have F, and then you have F2. So F2 closely associated with G, which would be his closer brother of the Assyrians. So F2 would be the Arameans. It goes all the way down to the base, if you can't tell. So that goes all the way down the base. This F goes all the way down the base. Lineage, or maybe this is Arameans. I don't know. No, that branches off. That's something else. I don't know what that is, but anyways. This is F and this is F2. Two separate lineages. So it's F, G, and H, but actually it's IJ. IJ, or this is the Dan and Asher, and this is the Abrahamic lineages, and what other Hebrew lineages there are, surviving, if there are any, So it'd be IJ comes first, then the H, then the G, then the F2, and then the F1, or descendants of Lud. So, and then you have a separation distance here. I don't know if you can see it. This line here separates the lineages. That's genetic distance. So all these down here are the 7 sons of Japheth. 7 sons of Japheth being K, L, N, O, P, Q, and R. So it's Tubal. Where's T? There's T. Tubal, Javan, remember the KT? Tubal, Javan, Tiraz, Meshach, Magog, M and ES are associated with K, as you can see here. See, M and ES came from K. They both came from the same lineage. Then you have Q. Then you have R. Q is the Medes. R1 is Ashkenaz. R1A is Ashkenaz. R1B is Riphath. R2 is Togarmah. It has to fit perfectly, and it does. It has to fit perfectly. And if you understand that, where's the C? There's the C. If you understand that C has a common ancestor with the rest of the world, that means that C can have a CF marker X the DE. Without DE, they don't have it, but C does have it in common with the rest of the world because he is the oldest lineage of the descendants of Cush. So he can, since he's the oldest lineage of Cush, he can share a marker in common with the rest of the world that none of his younger brothers and cousins share. If you understand that, then you can understand how this works. The IJK marker, the oldest son of Shem, can share an IJK marker in common with the Eurasians because Arpachshad is the oldest son of Shem, as confirmed by the Cohen model haplotype J1P58. So it's very important, and people need to get on board with this because it is evidence that proves the history of the Bible, and it just proves everything. Now, this is the Y chromosome haplogroups. Where is the diversity? Where is the diversity at of the haplogroups? There's more different lineages here than there are here, right? So, like spokes of a wheel, all these lineages go out different directions from where? Persia, from Iran, from Mesopotamia, this area here. Not here. That's not genetic diverse. That's not diverse lineages. Over here, see this red and this yellow is all the same thing. That's not diverse because the yellow is Ashkenaz, the red is Riphath. They're both sons of Gomer. That's not diverse. This purple and stuff, or the lighter purple is I. Where's I? Yeah, the lighter purple is I. The darker one is N. So this dark one is N of Meshach. This dark purple, not diverse. Not diverse. But the this lighter purple is the I, which that's pretty significant right there, Anyway. And there's I1 and I2. And you have R1A and R1B. They're both, it's red and yellow and R. Well, you got, see, in the middle of Africa, you have an R too. Same as you have an R in the middle of North America too, but it's not being shown here. It's R1B from the Middle East, Mediterranean. But you can see not diverse, not diverse, not diverse. Where did everybody come from? Right here. Cradle of civilization. Right there. Okay. That should be about it. I think I'm just drawing this out a little bit. There's the I. This is I1 and I2, both tribe of Asher and Dan. This is the L of the Thracians, all the way to India. See what happened? See what happened when Alexander the Great wanted to ride elephants? That's what happened right there. Alexander the Great went and took his armies and so he could ride elephants in India. Did you see the result right there? Yep. That's the Thracians. O is Magog, the largest haplogroup. It's a race between R and O as to which haplogroup is the largest, but the O just barely beats the R, R1, R2, as far as I can tell. It's definitely the largest in this area. That would be the descendants of Magog. Here's the Q. This is the area where the Medes were in Europe. Because I have designated Q as being the Medes, and then then they show up here, and I come to find out that that's where the Medes were in Europe. So everything has to be exactly perfect, exactly right. This is the T haplogroup, T distribution. More in the Horn of Africa, than basically anywhere else because of the trade that the Greeks had with the Horn of Africa. And of course, the trade routes of the Arabians as well. And even on up into Europe. Okay, the G is the Assyrians because the Assyrians went into Europe. I guess they ended up out here somewhere. Okay, this is what gets interesting here in these pie charts. Iranian or Persian DNA, right? Check this out. See this Q? From here to this H over here, this is all Abrahamic. Almost half the Persian population is descended from Abraham. And with Judah, the house of David. This J2 M172, 20% likely from the house of David. Then there's all kinds of, there's J1 here, which could be Arabic. There's this J1 here, could be Israel or vice versa. Then there's more J2 over here, J2 there, which is other Israelite tribes. Almost half the Persian population in Iran is Judaic. I mean, if people understood this, I mean, this is not counting the G2, which could have been a part of the Judaic population, and R1A and R1B and such, and the T, which also, and the G, which also could have been a part of the Judaic population. So easily, half of the Persian population are themselves Judaic. It's just the irony of the situation. You know, if people understood it, then maybe people would, you know, have understanding and not have so much trouble. This is descendants of Ashkenaz. It's where the Ashkenazi Jews get their name from. It was from the descendants of Ashkenaz. So, you know, self-explanatory, right? R1A, Ashkenaz. R1B, Ripath. R2, Togarma. Has to fit perfectly. And here we go. We got American Indians. This is supposed to be all native population. America's brown, right? So what do we have there? We have, of course, we know about the R1B in America, in the Great Lakes region, right here. Oops. The R1B, we know that's in America, so, okay, we know about that. Not very well explained, but remember the Vikings are R1B too, but what else are the Vikings? The Vikings are R1B, and what else are they? See what we got here. What's this? The Vikings are I1 too, and there's I1 in America, I2 in America, J1 in America, J2 in America, and the T. Remember the T? Who's that? This Mediterranean descendants of Javan in America, in the American Indian population. What else is there? Oh, look at this. What else is a signature of the Phoenician population? G2. G2 is also a signature of the Jewish population. Judaic. But this is almost, the Phoenicians and the Jews almost have the same signature. It's G2, it's I1, I2, J1, J2, T, only not a huge percentage, but it's still significant. And of course, R1B and Q. Even Q is in the Jewish population and the Phoenician population. Not nearly as much, of course, but it's there. It's a signature. It's very, very interesting the way things pan out. And of course, in the Mediterranean, what else do we have? Oops, there we go again. In the Mediterranean population, what else do we have? We have the Egyptians. If I can find them here. There they are. The E in America and the B, descendants of Cush in America, descendants of Mitzrayim in America. So that's also a signature of the Judaic population and the Phoenician population, almost the same thing, just different percentages of each one. But it's the E, the B, G of the Assyrians, G2 the Assyrians, I1 tribe of Dan, I2 Asher, J1 is Israelite and Arabic, J2 is Judaic, and T is Javan Mediterranean Sea people. Q is already in America, and then you got the R1B of the Mediterranean in America, American indigenous populations. Okay, and we end up where we started from with the Table of Nations, and we need to be more, not only understanding the ancient history, but letting people know about it, the ancient history. There'd be so much less trouble in the world if people understood who they were and where they came from, as opposed to, it wouldn't cause problems knowing where you're from. It just makes people realize that they belong somewhere to someone, at least. And that besides that, we're all from the same family to begin with. So that's good enough for now. There I go. Okay. Netanyahu's R1B. There you go. Hold on. Let me see if I can find something. This. Okay. Yeah. Abraham is Chaldean. Comes from the sons of Shem, but Aram is Syria. Yeah, Aram is a son of Shem too. Abraham descended from Arpachshad, not Aram. Right. Right. There's people that think that Abraham descended from Aram, but he didn't. Abraham descended from Arpachshad, and we have the genealogy. But the Arameans are Semitic. They're one of the brothers of Arpachshad. All Gulf Arabs are J2, even they transfer to Pakistan and India. Yeah. And J2 is Judaic, straight out Judaic. Okay, they don't have Jewish populations though. Well, every time that the Jews were expelled from the land of Israel, they went to Mesopotamia, Syria, Italy. They went everywhere. They were scattered everywhere, as far as China. Not just the Arab countries, but as far as China even. Okay, how could it be Israel since one haplogroup origins are considered Abrahamic descents? Jays would not accept as the own Israelites they denied. They called European. The Jays came from Iran. Actually, well, Mesopotamia is where Abraham came from, but it was the expulsion of the Jews multiple times. They were expelled from Israel up into Babylon, up into the Mesopotamian area, and they spread out from there. And we know from the colon modal haplotype. I didn't get to the colon modal haplotype, but it confirms J as being the descendants of Abraham. Positively. You can't argue with DNA. Cannot argue with DNA. All the sons Jacob's supposed to be one molecule. Example, if it's J's, all J's are only from Abrahamic ship. Yeah. J, not just J, but I. It's an IJ lineage. The only reason why it separates into I is because of the physical distance. Anytime there's a physical separation, they have a different designation, like the C from the B and the A. Netanyahu endorsed Indian immigrants to replace Palestinian workers in Israel. They are already coming to Israel. Hindu people. So that's wonderful. Hindus. Well, depending on who is. R1B is descendant of Ripath. That's Mediterranean. And that's in the Jewish population, obviously. Netanyahu being Jewish himself, obviously it's in the population. We have a large population of gypsies in my country, Czech Republic. Majority of them are illiterate, refusing to learn how to read. They know how to count money. Yep. Yeah, well, I've seen some documentaries on them, and they try to get some education here and there, not a whole lot, but they learn how to survive as best they can and stuff, I guess. But anyways, thanks everybody for your participation, and I hope everybody has a great day. God bless everybody. Take care.